You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Monday. We are back in doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Spring football officially started in earnest today, so we're just going to kind of look ahead as to what there is to look forward to when it comes to the Michigan football program. At the moment, I'm going to put my colleague, my friend, well, acquaintance, I've never met him in person, Phil Harrison from Buckeyes Wire, on blast for a typical Buckeye problem that seems to exist, and it's something that's continued in all of this the global sphere of college football, but I expect that to end this year for most. We'll get into that. And I had another thing, and I can't remember it, so we'll see if I remember it for segment 3. But anyway, Michigan is officially starting spring football. As far as I know, they are healthy, and that is awesome news because this time last year, J.J. McCarthy was not, which set him behind the 8 ball a little bit. And now he's expected to be able to lead this team, but also some guys like Davis Warren, Alex Orji, Jaden Denegal will get reps as well, which is super helpful, super good. Throw in some other walk-ons in there. Declan Bile, son of the great Jeff Bile at Bally Sports. So that is the good news. But on top of that, you've got guys that can continuously get better, including the already uber talented, probably the best running back room in America with the 1-2 punch of Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. But I think it's a really good time for JJ in particular to develop some consistency and regularity, some rhythm that already is there, but can really take a step forward with Cornelius Johnson. You've heard me say a bunch of times now, and I've been saying it since I think after week 1 this past year. Roman Wilson, to me, is Diet Devontae Smith. He has that capability in him, I do believe. It's not saying he's going to have that type of production, but I think he is a similar type of player, similar speed, similar body type. It's just a matter of, can he get open and can get the ball in his hands and make plays? And with Ronnie Bell gone, there is an opportunity for him in that light. The 3 now sophomores. And granted, Amarian Walker sounds like he's going to get some run at corner, but it also sounds like he'll also get some run at wide receiver. He has an opportunity as well. But I've been uber excited about Darius Clemens. I erroneously predicted probably around this time last year that he was going to be a guy who burst onto the scene. And I think that a guy like Darius Clemens has opportunity with Andrell Anthony having moved on to Oklahoma. Same deal with Tyler Morris, again, with the loss of Ronnie Bell, because he projects a little bit more as being that inside guy. It's a time to build consistency among that offensive line because there are some new faces and they are all very talented. And thus far, Sharon Moore has done a masterful job. I'll be the first to tell you that I was extremely skeptical about his promotion to offensive line coach after Ed Warner. I love Ed Warner. I still love Ed Warner. I occasionally talk to Ed Warner because he's that kind of dude that I adore him, even though he's at FAU. But Sharon Moore has done an unbelievable job doing what he's doing, and now he also gets a chance to be the guy calling the offense. There's going to be no question about whose offense it is. I mean, yes, it's the Jim Harbaugh offense, and I'm sure Jim will continue to give input and do his whole ordeal. But at the same time, this is the Jim Harbaugh offense. This is the time for A.J. Barner to get acclimated because Michigan is going to need him to really fill that Luke Schoonmaker role with Colston Loveland playing the Eric All role, right? Because we've seen that throughout the years, not all the way back to the beginning of the Jim Harbaugh era, but you have your guy who is primarily a wide receiver playing tight end. And then you have your quasi lineman who can catch the ball and make plays. A.J. Barner has that capability, of course. And I know his he didn't catch as much. I don't have CFB stats up right now, but I know his production wasn't even as much as not Luke Schoonmaker, but as Colston Loveland's ended up being. I mean, Colston Loveland also had a couple really nice long touchdown catches to have under his belt. But I think that A.J. Barner is going to get more heavily utilized, which is kind of crazy when you think about how pass happy the Indiana offense tried to be, at least at the beginning of the first 2/3 of the 2022 season. So I think that covers it for offense, but defensively, it's a time for some other guys to grow. It's a time for Mason Graham. Are you ready to be a starter? Because I think that's probably what he's going to be. I think Rayshon Benny and Kenneth Grant will still be in heavy rotation, but they all need to grow. Chris Jenkins, stalwart. He's a stud. He's ready to go. Who's going to take the mantle as the pass rusher? Because a lot of that production from last year is gone. Mike Morris is gone. Ayabioki is gone. But we've seen the flashes from Braden McGregor. We've seen Jalen Harrell have that capability. And I'm excited about, let's get this right. I do it wrong every time. Josiah Stewart. I think that's right. I get corrected every time because I say Josiah Scott. That's always forefront. And with the Josiah S., that doesn't work in this brain. There can only be one, like the Highlander. But nonetheless, can he be that difference maker? I mean, he's a highly ranked transfer. Michigan's had pretty good luck with those guys. Mike Dana, Abioki last year. It's if they can get at least that out of them, that's really good. But they need some of those other guys to step up. Derek Moore. Remember, you make that big jump from year 1 to year 2. Derek Moore feels ready to go. Then you've got the guys behind him. Chris Partridge back coaching linebackers. I'm not saying I disagree with some, but some people I think are acting like, he's head and shoulders a better linebackers coach than George Hilo. Again, you have to remember he had Devin Bush. George Hilo didn't have Devin Bush. He did have Junior Colson on, so I am curious to see how Chris Partridge is able to handle Junior Colson and what he's able to do with him. And then there's all those other guys that, is Kalel Mullings. Is he going to stick at linebacker? He's going to stay at running back. Is he going to continue to split time? Michael Barrett, how does he take a step forward? How does Ernest Hausman fit in to that rotation? How do some other guys that we've seen a little bit from, but haven't seen a lot from, how do they take that step forward, right? That I think is a big question. Guy like Jaden Hood. I'm just like I'm looking at this, I was like, did Jaden Hood transfer? Because it's like I'm thinking of Deuce Spurlock, but it's like still like we have been waiting for Jaden Hood, man. We have been waiting for Jaden Hood. So they need someone like him. Don't become Anthony Solomon. Don't become an irrelevant dude. Step up to the plate. Not saying your time is now, but it could be. That room has potential to be loaded. Behind them, I feel great about the safeties. You still got the 3 guys you know about. Then you've got guys that we were just kind of waiting on second year. Zeke Berry, who I'm excited about. Keon Sabb, I think we all forget because he didn't finish as a 5-star. And if he would have committed as a 5-star and fallen to a 4-star, everyone would have thought of him as a 5-star. But remember, Keon Sabb was a 5-star when he initially committed to Clemson. And I remember writing those articles about him visiting Michigan, and people were all kinds of stoked and feeling like really good, and then commits to Clemson, and you just kind of forget about him. And when he flips back over, he's a 4-star. Otherwise, people would be sitting there being like, get this guy out onto the field. But, you've already got the 3 starters, essentially, that are really good. I didn't even mention Nikhai Hill-Green, by the way, with the linebackers. It's cornerback is the only place that I feel like we have one big question mark on this entire team. Who's going to be opposite Will Johnson? Could be someone from the transfer portal after spring ball when the transfer portal opens back up. Because, there will be guys that depart, leave Michigan, guys that come into Michigan possibly. Could be a guy who's already on the roster. Could be a Marion Walker. If they decide that that's their best interest, it could be Miles Pollard. Could be Jaden McBurrows. It's a big, great unknown. But Steve Klinkscale done an insanely good job. That unit turned around in a hurry with him leading it all. So, and then obviously special teams, Tommy Doman, does he handle the roles of being both kicker and punter, or do they make him one and then decide like Adam Samaha, it's your chance to kick. Tommy Doman's going to punt. Is it someone else? I don't know if Red Anderson's still on the team or not. But it's there's a lot to figure out here, and it's exciting because it feels like spring football doesn't normally start this early, but you figure you got 15 practices. They're going to get them all in. Spring game on April 4th, I believe. I just realized I think I have a dentist appointment that day. So I better reschedule that if that's indeed the day I think that the spring game is. Anyway, they're getting to work, and we already saw a clip of a guy having a big play, presumably at the spring game. We will get to that momentarily as we continue to discuss this. Before we do that, as a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experience to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications, all on one platform. You want to get the right team member, just like Michigan is looking in the transfer portal. They're looking through recruiting. They're trying to get that guy that can come in and be a big difference maker. Help them win in 2023. You can be the same using LinkedIn Jobs with your small business. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. I have a quick sidebar before we get into some of the rest of the spring practice talk. Because I can't help myself, but I see it like the YouTube comments. I keep on telling myself I'm not going to look, and then I look because there's a lot of people that have like legitimate questions and things of that nature, and I don't want to leave everybody hanging. But then you get the people who clearly don't follow the show that regularly, which fair, fine. It's if you want to follow it, cool. Maybe you just heard about it, whatever. With what I consider invalid criticism. Because number one, there were a couple comments this past week saying too much personal info. And I'm going to tell you this time of year, if we're going to do 5 shows a week, which we have done, I think every week except for one all year this year, you're going to get some personal stuff. You're just gonna, because we need to vamp. We need to stretch things out. Plus, I think some people want it, to be honest. I'm not saying like I think I'm anything special, because I come to you with a humble heart, but I feel like people generally, and this is how I was as a Michigan fan, I wanted to connect with who the people behind the screen were. You want to know, like, what kind of things are they into? Some people complaining about our Disney love-in on the mailbags. Get used to it, because it's going to happen. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is this is the living, walking meme. I am the living, walking meme of that drill meme of you keep getting upset at my and whatever. I can't remember it exactly. My opinions are going to get worse. That's how that's going to go. So the more you cry about it, the more I'm going to do it. That's just how it works. Last part to that. Someone else, a PSA here. If you have my number somehow, and I don't know you, if you found my number and you text me, you're not going to be treated. I will try to treat everyone with kindness, but you're not going to be treated with that type of, you're not going to get the response that you want ever, because someone else did that, I think, Sunday morning. That's an invasion of privacy. So please don't do that. You know, that's stalking. So please, if you have either a question or you have a comment, hit me up in the Twitter DMs. I don't necessarily see them right away, but you're going to get treated with kindness. You're not, because imagine someone shows up to your house, and it's not quite the same, but so, you know, some random person calls you about the job you're doing. You're not going to enjoy it. So, okay. Rant over, PSA over. I ain't that mad about any of it, but like I said, we're going to vamp here and there. All right. Spring football. I just feel like, and like I just kind of ran down the people who I think are going to contribute on the roster. And there's others that I didn't mention. I probably should have mentioned, like Ben Van Zoom. No, stop. Wow. Bad me. He's at MSU. I meant to say Joey Velasquez. If Ben Van Zoomerin's out there making an impact for Michigan, I guess that would be good, because that would probably mean in the Michigan State game something went Michigan's way. But that was a total misspeak on my end. There are other guys, and I feel like usually there is someone who kind of comes out of nowhere. Maybe that guy could be, and I am very reticent to put too much stock into it, but it appears that a day one spring practice video had emerged from an Ole Miss writer. Of all people, I have no idea how or why. And it got a video of Cam Calhoun, the 3-star cornerback from Ohio, who committed to Michigan basically right when I got back from the post-game press conference after the Ohio State game, making a pick six. Now, this isn't his first practice, right? He was around for the bowl game prep and everything. So he's had a couple under his belt, but maybe that shows that things are accelerating for him. Maybe it shows that the identification. Remember how many times I tell you. Now, I'm not saying Michigan doesn't need stars. They do. But sometimes you can ID a guy, like guys like out there that have been in the NFL and been game wreckers. J.J. Watt. Was it Aaron Donald? The one I don't think it's Aaron Donald. Who was the other game wrecker defensive end that I'm thinking of? Myles Garrett. Came from Buffalo, I think. You can find guys that are not going to necessarily fall into that star system the way that you hope. I mean, Michigan's had them themselves. Kwity Paye, Ronnie Bell, guys who fans complained about endlessly when they committed. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying to disregard all star rankings and that Michigan doesn't need higher end talent. All I'm saying is sometimes, and we've seen a track record of this, they're going to ID guys that maybe the recruiting analysts don't necessarily ID as being a dude. Rod Moore, good example of the current team. Heck, I mean, even Blake Corum is a 4-star, but clearly is a 5-star talent. So, but that's huge for Cam Calhoun. Can he be effectively in the rotation in his first year? That remains to be seen. I mean, it even took Will Johnson a Jamon Green helmet to the head before he really got his true opportunity outside of garbage time. Yeah, a little more than that, but he was out there here and there, but not as consistently as, say, the other guys. But that's a good first step. And we don't know based off that video. It's too grainy. You can't really tell who he's playing against, who the quarterback was, who the wide receiver was. But still, he ID'd the situation, jumped the route, and there you go. So that's a first day good news item for Michigan in spring ball, if it indeed was from spring ball and not bowl prep. Because again, we don't know how this guy got this footage. Because that's not exactly something that, like, you know, writers and people even internally here that cover Michigan, they don't get that type of stuff. So still very cool. Who are going to be the next guys? Because this is usually when you hear of guys kind of building that, you know, what, especially those early enrollees, whether it's for this year or the next, who's going to be in those rotations, what early enrollees are going to, you know, have that impression. 2019 wasn't all that long ago. I didn't even mention on our rundown Mike Sainris still, because when I'm talking about that, I mean, he's obviously not only a key piece, he's a team captain. But in 2019, spring ball, they're like Eric All, Mike Sainris still. Amazing, both of them. Took a little while before it came to fruition, but it did come to fruition. So whether it's them or, you know, I remember 2017, Mo Hurst, he's a game wrecker. He's going to be the defensive line all on him, you know, to himself. Okay, cool. And then it happens. I mean, sometimes you get some erroneous reports like that out of camp. Josh Ross took a lot longer to become the guy that he was capable of being, and he still never turned into Devin Bush 4.0, kind of like he was advertised by his teammates and the staff. Donovan Jeter always got that hype and never really materialized as being that player. So, you know, you take it with a grain of salt, but there's a lot of potential for guys to take that big step forward. And you see it every year of a guy that takes a big step forward and you're like, okay, let's see. And it happens. Makari Page last year was one that was talked about that way. We already knew about Rod Moore, so I don't really count him, obviously, here in that starting role. Chris Jenkins was a guy that was talked about like that last year. And look at what he's turned out to be. So, on offensive line, Olu, I mean, if you listen to this show, I told you at the moment Olu came, he was going to win the Remington Trophy. And he did. And, you know, I'm not saying the same of Drake Nugent necessarily, but I think he's going to be somewhere, like I said, between Andrew Vistardis and Olu in terms of capability, production, all that kind of stuff. So this is a time for these guys, especially the transfers, especially the freshmen, and especially those guys that I mentioned earlier, like Jaden Hood, or like I almost did it again, Joey Velasquez. I have some kind of tick in my head that wants me to call Joey Ben Van Sumer, and that's not good. Good or great. I said both. That's not great. Good. But this is the time for them to shine. And it's time for them to really turn the page before summer conditioning and fall. This is when a team is forged, is spring ball. It's no accident spring ball was canceled in 2020. And with a lot of new talent taking the field, Michigan wasn't consistent. Came out, was lights out in game one, and then fell off a cliff. Different story here, because you have the most returning production in the Big Ten. You're going to be probably ranked at worst number 3 in the preseason. At worst, I think they should be number 2. And that brings me to the next point that we're going to get to here momentarily. Before we do that, if you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know the goal that I am not adhering to at all, to eat a little healthier this year, is a thing. But if you're like me and you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then, man, I've got just a thing for you. You've got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty, and I can attest to that. Seriously, they're so delicious you won't think they're good for you, perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. Let me tell you, the Puffs, I'm not a marshmallow guy. Once you start having some of the Built Puffs, you won't want anything else. They're so good. Now you don't need to wait around to get a box either. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Well, now you can go get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate or coconut puffs. Again, those puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar. I said 113 bars. See, I can't talk today. With our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro, you can thank me later. I am kind of surprised to report that we are running out of time, because I did not think that I was going to Led Zeppelin style ramble on here. It's really all this is. It's the musings of a psychopath. It's really what this show is, first and foremost. But we'll keep this third segment very light, 3 minutes. I want to blast my guy Phil Harrison at Buckeyes Wire. I understand, man. You really think you have the highest faith in Ohio State every single year, and it's a disappointment if they don't achieve those goals. But he put out a list of where each team in the Big Ten is going, what bowl games are going. I don't like doing that because it's always like, I couldn't tell you, Music City, who's going to go to the Music City Bowl, the ReliaQuest Bowl, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I guess I could figure it out. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I don't know. But naturally, he has Michigan behind Ohio State. However, I would think having Michigan behind Ohio State would be kind of, if you're going to do it, you do it like it went last year, where both make the playoff. But no. He has Michigan not going to the playoff and going to the Rose Bowl, which to me is absurd, because if one of the two teams, as it stands right now, was more likely to make the playoff, and one is more likely to go to the Rose Bowl instead, it would be Michigan to the playoff, Ohio State to the Rose Bowl. Why? Because of two things. Well, more than two things. Two things primarily. The returning production that Michigan has, most importantly at the quarterback position, and the fact that Ohio State has a new quarterback that it has to break in. And on top of that, in the last 2 years, it's looked very similar, not quite as of a daunting task as Michigan had. Looks very similar, though, in terms of what the scores ended up being from 2018 to 2019, just reversed. Keeping in mind that 2018 game didn't get out of hand until the fourth quarter. People don't remember that. Same thing with the 2019 game. Hassan Haskins hits that hole instead of running into his blocker. We're talking about a completely different ball game. It's not out of hand. And then you act like the 2019 game the 2022 game. Well, Michigan scored late. Okay, well, so did Ohio State to put those games out of reach. It wasn't like, well, it's the second quarter and Ohio State is up 24-0. Wasn't the case for either of those games. Right now, Michigan seems to have the number coaching-wise for Ohio State. Right now, Michigan's got more consistency, even coaching in a lot of, and I don't want to say a lot of cases, but Kevin Wilson is gone. You don't know who your quarterback is going to be. Yes, you got the great receivers, but you got to have someone to throw them. It's not like a running back. And the game is in Ann Arbor. I am going ahead and predicting a Michigan win. I predicted a Michigan win over Ohio State in 2023 before the game was over in 2022. I basically said, Michigan wins this game, they're going to win it again in 2023. Because a lot is not going to be going in Ohio State's favor. So I don't know. I understand you're pandering to your base, but even I last year with a lot of these predictions, I might put Michigan number one in Big Ten rankings, but then, say it really comes down to that game. And I had mixed confidence. And I don't know. You lose by however much you lose to your rival. Was it 45-23? You lose by so much to your rival at home. It's kind of hard to see that page being flipped. And the only things that you can sit there and say, well, Michigan will go to the Rose Bowl would be if they lose another game, like say Penn State. But that would mean Penn State would probably go to the Rose Bowl. So I don't know. Michigan doesn't have that hard of a non-conference again. I have a hard time seeing them losing more than one game this next year, just kind of given everything that they have, unless they just make some huge mistakes or have big injuries, which certainly was the case in 2016 and 2019 and all of that. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We'll probably continue spring practice talk, find something else to talk about as far as that goes. Maybe I'll do my bowl game predictions. I don't know. Ohio State to the Quick Lane Bowl. That's where we're at. We can dream. Oh, can we dream? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back soon. Peace.